All right, another episode of Beyond This Stage of the 615 Skye. That's what the podcast is called, just in case you did not know. And I have a special guest with me, Skye Hillman. Thank you for coming and joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me. This is the first podcast I've been on.
Really? And I said joining us like it's me and somebody else, but it's just me and my dog.
We got Hendrix here, you know?
I know. I am so excited to have you on the podcast and tell your story. I got to see you the other night at an all-females writers round, which is like, I should say unheard of. It's not so much unheard of now, but it's still on the rarity in Nashville. Would you agree with that?
Yes, you're right. I mean, when I first moved here, I feel like it was rare to have all women on stage, and now I feel like it happens more often. Yeah. Thank God, but that's what almost 10 years will do in this town for you.
Yeah, and so I got to see you, and I was like, man, her voice is so amazing, because I went with my friend Amanda, who you do her hair, correct?
Yes. Okay. She's been my client for a while now.
Yeah. And she was like, we got to go see my friend. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, because I feel like, I don't know if it's because I've gotten older in Nashville. I don't go out as much to see music, and I love the music scene here. And like artists like yourself, like just doing the grind, and really it's your passion, and you're doing. That's why I have this podcast, so you can tell whatever your story is, because it's different for everybody. It's different, but the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
If that makes sense. Like trying to make it and whatever your end goal is. But anyways, I heard your voice and I was like, man, she's really awesome. Aww. So I wanted to have you on the podcast so we can kind of talk about your journey and your origin story.
Well, thanks.
You're welcome. Of how you decided you wanted to be a musician.
Oh my gosh. Well,
was it like from a kid?
Yeah. Like honestly, I've always been a singer. The Disney movie, The Little Mermaid, it was like, I would watch that over and over and over and over again. And like the scene where she's like, I want to be part of your world. And she like, puts her arms up on the rock and she's like, singing the big note or whatever. I was like, I'm going to be a singer. And I don't even know how or why that became a thing. And then I was in choir all throughout school. And then in middle school, I ended up, trying to play the violin for 3 years. And I absolutely hated it. Like I was not very good at it.
Really? You decided the violin was not for you. The violin is not for you.
Yeah. Well, so like we did like, the first position, and then you had to learn like second and third position, and it just got really hard. And I was like, well, I'm a singer. What am I doing? So then in high school, I did choir and show choir. And
now, did you sing in the choir like in your church, or was this just at school?
I did do it in my church too. Okay. I was raised in a United Church of Christ in Michigan, which is where I'm from.
Okay.
Which honestly, like that was normal for me. I didn't know anything about the differences between the churches. And then you move to Nashville, you move to the South, and you learn about the mega churches. And there's like all these churches on every block, and everyone's a different faith. And like there's Baptists and Southern Baptists and like crazy. All these things. And I'm like, what?
You're like, what's going on? It's so crazy. So I'm not from here either. I'm from Virginia Beach is where I'm from, right?
Okay.
But I learned this on the documentary about the female pastor that passed away in that plane crash.
Yeah.
But did you know, I did not know that Nashville has the most churches per square foot in the entire world.
In the entire world?
In the entire world.
Is that an actual fact?
It's an actual fact. They have so many churches, like... Yes, you have to look it up. But I found that out watching that documentary. I mean, I knew it was the South, so I knew there was churches here, but I didn't realize there were that many here. But there is.
Are we allowed to say the name of that church?
Yeah. I
think it's the Remnant, right?
Remnant,
yeah.
Yes.
Funny story, like on a sidebar real quick. I played a couple of writers rounds at this little hole-in-the-wall like restaurant. I forgot the name of it, but it was in Brentwood. And the people who own that restaurant went to that church with that woman and her husband. And so they were at one of my rounds before they died. Or before she died. And I remember sitting at a table looking at her with like her huge hair because, I'm a hairstylist. So it's the first thing I do.
Well, yes. And if you watch the documentary, I mean, her hair the whole time is so high.
Oh my gosh. No. So I was sitting there with my friend Melissa, and my friend Melissa was entranced by her. She was like, I want to go tell this woman I think she's beautiful. And like the next week she died. It was, so are we getting down, Hendrix?
Yeah, okay. Hendrix, my dog's jumping down.
That's okay. It's okay. He was like, you guys are talking, I'm done with you. Yeah. So crazy.
That's crazy.
But
what year was that?
Oh God. It was right before COVID, I think.
2017,
no, I think it was
2018,
2019 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy. But no, I sang in my church. But I sang like it was hymns, and it was every single verse to the organ, and it was very, no offense, but it was very boring. And I just did not.
It wasn't you. It wasn't you.
I didn't relate. And so then I moved here and I started going to Cross Point, And then they had, you know, Crosspoint has like this huge band and like they have a production. And I was just like, what?
Mesmerized.
This is amazing. So yeah, anyways, that's part of that.
So, okay, but so you knew from a young age that you wanted to be a singer, or
Yes.
did you just, I mean, I know you said you were singing in the choir and doing these things in school, but did you have aspirations to really take it all the way, and that's
Yes.
why you came to Nashville?
Yes.
Like, tell me about that. Like, how did you make the transition? I am in the choir in high school, but now I want to go to Nashville and pursue, like, being a singer professionally.
I don't know where I learned or heard that Nashville was Music City. I don't remember that.
Okay, that's fair.
I just remember at some age in like, I don't know, middle school, high school, thinking to myself like, Nashville is Music City and I'm going to move there. And I'd never been here. I had no idea. It's not like we came on family vacations to Nashville. I'd never been here. I had no idea. And then I went to college. I have a degree I don't use.
In what though? Tell us what you have a degree in.
I have a Bachelor's of Science in Health Administration from Eastern Michigan University.
Wow. What was the idea behind that? You were going to work in sports, or what were you going to do?
No. So I honestly, like, I was the kid that would play with all the Barbie's hair and makeup. I did everyone's hair and makeup for prom and like all the dances and all the things. And so I wanted to graduate high school and move down here for music and go to hair school. Like that is what I wanted to do.
Okay.
But my dad, like, I'm from a big family. I have 4 siblings. I'm one of 5. It's a blended family. My parents got divorced when I was 6. It's a whole thing. But my dad is a plumber from a very small town in Michigan. And he was just like, you're never going to put food on a table by doing hair. But like back then, that was his thought. Like, and so he's my dad and he's my homie. Like, he's my best friend. His name is Norman.
Well, that's good. We love that.
Yeah. And so I was just like, you know, he knows more about life than I do. So I'm just going to go to college, because back when I graduated college in 2007, that's what you did. So I spent 6 years changing my major and transferring schools. I started out at Central, went to a couple community colleges, and ended at Eastern. And I graduated there in 2014. And then I was like, I'm going to save money for a year and move to Nashville. So I moved to Nashville.
Well, good for you. I mean, like, you were like, I'm going to make my parents happy, and then I'm going to go do what I want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's essentially what you did, right?
People pleaser. Yeah.
That's okay. I mean, it's okay. Hey, at least you had a college degree. So, I mean, you got that.
That I still pay for and never use. So,
well, hopefully maybe.
Hashtag millennial.
I was like, hashtag millennial, but also, like, didn't Biden or somebody fix that and said you weren't supposed to
They tried.
pay?
So that, I think it's like just on federal loans or something. Some weird reason my loans didn't apply.
Ah, of course. You're like, cool. Thanks.
Cool.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Doesn't apply to me. Don't care.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, anyways, I didn't even, so I sing country music and I write country music, but I didn't know anything about Nashville before I moved here. I came to visit one time.
Neither did I, yeah.
Yeah, I came here one time, and that's when I was looking for places. I moved here November 27th, 2015.
Wow. So you've really seen it change, which we're going to come back to.
Sure.
But, like, you've really seen it change.
I have. I feel like I was, like, on the cusp of moving here when it was cool.
Yeah, because it was back then. People don't understand this. And I came 2 years after you. So I came in 2017.
Yeah.
But people really don't understand, because that was when Nashville was like cool. Like, it wasn't on everybody's radar.
Yeah.
But it was like under the radar. And Nashville's like one of those places where, like, you walk into a dive bar and you never know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
And it's different now, but back then it was really in its prime of that.
Yeah.
So I love that that's when you came here and you experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah. Funny story. So I worked at the Loveless Cafe. That was my first job when I moved here.
Anybody that has ever been to Nashville knows that that's iconic.
Yeah. I worked there for 5 years. They were actually really good to their employees. If you work 30 hours a week, you have full benefits and a 401k.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. It was hard to leave there. Waiting tables there was great. And like a sidebar little story, there was this table, I think there was 3 of them. It was this guy who like looked familiar, but I didn't know who he was. I was like, you kind of look familiar. And then his friend and like his friend's wife or something. And so we're all sitting there, and every once in a while people will start conversations. They're like, you know, where'd you move from? Cause you have to wear a name tag with your name on it, with where you're from. And, so then the whole music thing came about, and I was like, yeah, I moved here to be a musician. And, Long story short, they're walking out. It was Gavin frickin' DeGraw. I was
Really?
like, oh no. Oh no. That is the most Nashville thing ever.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't say anything, but it was just really funny because I was like, I just made a total fool out of myself in front of
I'm sure
Gavin
you did.
DeGraw.
How did you figure out it was him? Did someone tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I was like, I knew he looked familiar, but I couldn't remember
You couldn't
exactly.
put a name on it.
Yeah. That stuff happens here all the time.
So how long did you work there for?
I worked there for 5 years. So I remember everything started getting weird around COVID.
Because I was gone. When I was here, I left in 2018.
Yeah. So I went to hair school in 2018, graduated 2019, or maybe 2017. Anyways, I went to hair school and I still worked at the Loveless Cafe while I was in hair school and my apprenticeship program. And so I was going through all of that, and then things started getting weird with COVID. I finally finished all of that, and I got a chair of my own at the salon that I work at in February of 2020. And
wow,
it was amazing. But then literally
COVID
the next month, it was like, okay, you finally went through all these hoops, and now it's COVID and the world shut down. The Loveless hardly ever closes. Like, it's almost always open.
Right.
And so I was like, well, at least I still have this job because the salon was closed. And so I worked there up until the day that they were like, no, we have to shut down for 2 weeks or whatever. And then after COVID, I just was like, you know what? I'm like 1 foot in this, 1 foot in hair and makeup. So I'm just going to full send and not go back unless I absolutely have to. And I haven't been back.
Wow. And so now you do hair.
I do hair and makeup. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, your hair is perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's my other passion. I absolutely love doing hair and makeup. It's something I've always loved to do. And Nashville's a great place for it. And I didn't even know it.
Oh my God. I mean, well, yeah. Well, there's so many, because the celebrities' wives, right now the influencers are here.
Oh, for sure.
Don't even get me started
Every
on
single
that.
bachelor and bachelorette and
The Bachelor, right.
they're all here.
They're all here. And then, all the musicians doing photo shoots, video shoots. I mean, it's just like, it's a big industry. So in the midst of all of that, are you still doing music?
Yes.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. I thrive in chaos.
Okay, good.
A house.
We all do. You have to, right?
Yep. Well, 1 of 5 children. So a house of chaos all the time. But yeah, so so when I moved here, I did not know how to play guitar and I had never written a song. I knew nothing about it. I moved here with the intention of being the next Miranda Lambert. She was my favorite. I was like, she's
exactly a good favorite to have because she's amazing.
Oh my God, she's fantastic. And her career has spanned years and years and years and years.
Yep.
And she was always my favorite. So I moved here with that intention. And then you move here as like someone that grew up in a small town, that I wouldn't say that I was like a big fish in a small pond, but like kind of a little bit.
Yeah. And then, you were kind of the big deal.
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but anyways, and then you move here and everybody moved here for music. And I was like, oh, can I curse on this podcast?
Oh my God. Yes. This is the internet.
Like, oh fuck. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what the hell am I supposed to do? So I actually, at the Loveless, I had a server there. That was a friend of mine and she was in music and she told me about the songwriting community in town and how amazing it was. And she hooked me up with my first vocal coach and my first guitar teacher in town. And so right before I started hair school, I started taking guitar lessons and trying to like figure out how to play guitar. As at that point, I think I was 26. Like, learning an instrument when you're like older is really hard.
It's not as easy. Well, what do you mean? You're learning 3 jobs also. So let's just say that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I started playing guitar and writing songs with anyone that would let me.
Yeah.
And I still feel like that's what I'm doing. Like, I'm still learning. I can play my songs, but like I am a very like mediocre guitar player. But I know enough to be able to play my own songs. And then I write with people that will let me write with them because everyone is so talented in this town. Thankfully now I feel like in the last like probably 4 or 5 years, I've got a pretty good group of friends. Hannah, that was sitting next to me on stage. She's one of them.
Yeah.
And it's been a really wild ride because I also I feel like you move to town and it's like classes of people that move here together.
Well, yeah, and even if they don't, I mean, it's just because, like, you kind of gravitate because, like, we were talking about the music industry in Nashville is very cliquey. So what happens is the other cliques end up forming because they have to, essentially. Because you're like, okay, well, we don't know these people, and they're not letting us in, and they're like, they're gatekeepers in this town in all aspects of the industry.
For sure.
And so it's like, I think people eventually end up flocking together because they're like, well, let's collaborate. Let's do our own thing. Let's really blow up the scene or whatever the case is just to like have some camaraderie.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you all move here for the same thing and you're like, I don't know. I mean, unless you're blessed enough to go to Belmont and know people, like you move here and you're like, what the fuck do I do with my life now?
Right. And that's the point of this podcast because it's like they sell Nashville as a dream, but it is not what they sell you. Because like you said, people get here and they're like, what the fuck is this town?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and what do I do? How do I start? I mean, because it can be very overwhelming.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think the show you went to, I'm pretty sure I played it, but there's a song that I wrote with two of my really good friends, Annalisa Rose and Melissa Ferret, and it's called Volunteer State. And
yes.
Yeah. It's about moving to Nashville and like basically volunteering to do all of the things that you want to do to make music happen. And it just like, we wrote that song and it's one of our favorite songs because of it.
Is this the one that's like, you can't live off 213?
Yes.
Oh my God. I used to be a bartender. I used to bartend on the side as well, coming up like, I'm not a musician, but in the radio, it's the same thing. They pay. It's like I'm doing radio, but they're barely paying me.
For sure.
And so, oh my God, when you sang that was my favorite song because I'm like, that's so true. And in California and other states, it's different. But you're right. In Tennessee, a lot of laws. I mean, especially with the servers, it's all 213 still, and it's people don't understand. They're trying to make it a big city, but it's not. It still has very old school, archaic laws.
Oh my Tennessee. God, it's Tennessee. But also Nashville, like it's a big town, but it's a big city, but it is a small town. And going back to the conversation about like it being cliquey and like all of the things, like somebody knows somebody that knows who you are. Like, and it's like, like everybody knows everybody in this town. And then like the more you get into like the music industry or I'm sure radio or like hair and makeup or whatever, like it's just smaller and smaller the more like specific you get. And like that's one thing I thought I was moving to a big town and it's like just as cliquey and small as my little tiny town in Michigan, you know?
Yep. Now, so do you like that aspect of Nashville or no? Be honest.
Okay, so there are times that it's wonderful and then there are times that it's like
a pain in the fucking ass.
Can't get away with anything, man. Shit.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's great and it reminds me of home. And then there are some times where I'm like, I mean, don't even get me started on the dating world in this town.
Oh my God. Well, the dating world, it's like, well, and then there's 10 chicks to each male here.
Oh, it's 10 now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I moved here,
I'm making up numbers.
Okay, no. When I moved here, it was 7 girls to 1 guy. When I moved here in 2015.
Yeah, so it's got to be at least 10 by 2025.
Well, also,
it's gotta be.
Also, when I moved here, it was 100 people moving here a day. And I think that statistic still rings true. If anything, it's higher. 100 people a day for almost 10 years. Don't even ask me that math, but it's a lot.
It's a lot. And the problem, I, as a radio personality, have lived in 8 states in 10 years. So I've lived in small, medium, large, and major markets.
For sure. Okay.
The reason why it's so bad here is because, again, this is a mountain town. People don't understand that. They're like, I'm going to Chicago, LA. No. Okay. They're trying to make it that. It is not. I know the influencers want it to be that. It is not. It is a mountain town.
It's tiny.
Okay. And there's infrastructure problem here. It was not built to expand to all these people that are coming here.
So bad.
So like you're 100 people a day have been moving here for 10 years, but we're still on 2-lane roads. Charlotte Pike, 2-lane road. Okay. And so people understand it's like traffic. People like traffic starts at 2 p.m. and it's not like Dallas. Dallas has like 10 lanes.
No,
you're on 2 lanes. And so it's Nashville's changed.
It has changed.
What do you think about that? Tell me. I'm gonna elaborate in a second, but I want to know what you think and how you think Nashville's changed. Well, is it good or bad too?
Oh God. Well, honestly, I think I appreciate how much Nashville has changed in the sense of it's not even just the music industry anymore. It's all industries.
Sure.
And I appreciate the diversity and like the opportunity that is constantly coming to this town, because it feels like Nashville really is like a dream city because you can do anything here. And when I moved here, it was mostly just music. One of my best friends moved here about a month after I did, and she's not in music at all, but like she still lives here, and she was in the fitness industry and all the things. And so I feel like it's just because so many people are moving here with so many different backgrounds and so many different opportunities. I love that has come to Nashville. Now, the traffic I hate, obviously. And then also the crime. Like, it's, the crime has gotten bad. Like,
it's bad.
It's bad. It's bad. So, you know.
I mean, no, it's really bad. I used to go downtown when I lived here back in 2017. I still wasn't like all Broadway all the time because you just can't. It's a lot.
Oh, I was.
Really?
When I first moved here, oh my God, I was down there all the time.
But I mean, I did go, but it was fun and it was exciting. Now and I would walk to my car by myself. Now I would never do that.
Oh my.
And now there's so many people that it's like not fun to go down there.
No,
it's like wall to wall people, even outside.
And you have to wait in lines.
You have to wait in lines.
What
There's
is
like
that?
people. I'm like, oh, Broadway.
Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how many times I like drunkenly got into the back of an Uber and fell asleep on the way home, and ended up being there just fine. Would never do that now. No,
there's
never.
So many stories of like these Lyft and Uber drivers trying to rape women, rob people. Amanda told me a story of one like trying to capture her and she had to jump out of the window. I'm like, what the hell?
Oh my God, I don't think she told me that story.
Oh my God, let her tell you that story, because when she told me, and she was like, yeah, it's not a big deal. I'm like, yeah, that is. A big deal. It's like, that's not good.
Did you see that viral? I think it was on TikTok. That girl that, I don't know if it was here in Nashville.
I've seen a couple of girls post on it.
They said they started to get sleepy because things were coming through like the air.
Oh, it came out of their like glove box or something. Yeah, and that's insane.
Absolutely not.
But also, so what I'm going to tell you, so all those things you said, 100% it's changed.
Yeah.
I was talking to my friend Haley. She works at 102.9 The Buzz here, which is rock radio.
Yeah.
And she's like my good friend. And so I had called her to tell her that I was going to move back in 2022. I was like, you know what? I'm doing Life with Lindsay, which is a syndicated country radio show. I need to be back in Nashville, even though I love Texas. Texas is a whole nother thing. We were talking about how much Nashville's changed. This is like a week ago. And she's like, when you called me, I wanted to say to you, should I tell her? And I go, tell me what? She goes, tell you how much it's changed.
Yeah.
And I said, I understand. I wouldn't understand then, but because even though I was gone for 4 years, I came back all the time. In September 2020, we came back for my birthday during COVID.
Yeah.
I kept coming back and forth here.
It's different when you live here.
But it's different. Yeah. That's why this podcast is like, you guys have, when you come visit here, Nashville is not when you visit.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not what it's like living here.
Mm-hmm.
And living here now, it's just like I said, those things, it's like, I don't want to go to Broadway. It is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Whether it's the parking, don't even get me. Like as locals, there's some spots on the street and different, not just downtown, midtown, all different places, Germantown. Right. There was some spots you knew of to go park. Now there's QR codes.
Oh, everywhere. Every street is street parking. The only place I will park at if I end up driving downtown is the library parking lot, because 9 times out of 10, it's only $10. Sometimes it's 20 if there's like a bunch of things going
event.
on.
Yeah.
But the library parking structure, but it's also very confusing if you don't understand it. I used to work at a cigar bar downtown.
Okay.
And so that's where we used to park. But every other place, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. And then also like I hate to say this because I've met a couple influencers that I like, but the influencer culture is annoying. I'm not even gonna lie, because they all moved here during COVID.
Yeah.
And I get it, like, because I wish I was making $1 million on TikTok. Don't get me fucking twisted.
Right.
But everything is on TikTok, meaning like our local spots, to where we were talking in the beginning of the podcast, like you could go in and maybe Garth Brooks was there or whoever, you never even know. And you don't even know who you're talking to sometimes. Now you can't even do that because someone's like, oh, come look at this new place that opened in Nashville. And it's just like all of our local spots are gone. Nashville was built on outlaws, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, that stuff. It's like Nashville is not a trend. Nashville is supposed to be like, fuck the trend.
Yeah.
We're against the trend.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now it's become the trend.
Oh, it's the trend to be here. Yes, absolutely.
So how do you feel about, even musically? I mean, how do you feel about, because honestly, for me, people might be mad at me, but that's why I stay on the west side of Nashville. I don't like to go anywhere else anymore. Yeah. And that's not why I'm in Nashville, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm just curious your thoughts on that, because I'm like, I stick to the west side and that's it.
Okay, so can you ask the question again? Because I feel like I got sidetracked when you were talking about.
What do you feel about like the changes of like Nashville's become the trend musically?
Yes. Okay.
So the music is changing. The culture's changing because of the influencers, meaning like, I feel like me just being, and I'm not a musician, but it's like all they care about is influencers now.
Yes.
But I'm like, okay, numbers don't tell you I know y'all want to suck everybody's dick because they have 10 million followers, but that doesn't mean shit. It doesn't mean they're a good person. A lot of them are entitled. I'm sure as a hairstylist, you could even speak on this where they're like, I want it for free. I'm posting on Instagram. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I get it. Like perks, yes. But it's just like, I just feel like now, whether it's the music industry, bars, anything, all they care about is the influencers. And that really bothers me here in Nashville.
So I can agree with that in some cases. I think especially like 4 or 5 years ago, the influencer, like, especially when TikTok started in COVID and like everybody was like, okay, yes, I'll do your hair if you post it on Instagram, or, you know, we'll give you like a VIP table if you post it on Instagram. And I think that was definitely a thing.
Sure.
I don't know if I just am less involved, but like I feel like at this point it is not quite like that. And the one thing I do love about some parts of Nashville is they don't care.
Right.
They don't care anymore. They're like, you know what?
Few and far between, but yes.
They're like, thank you so much for your, you know, whatever. But like, we also cater to our locals and like, we don't care. So I do love that Nashville can still be like that kind of situation in some cases. I don't go on Broadway a ton anymore. And like, I feel like every time that I do go down there every once in a while, it's like there's like a new country music artist has a new bar.
Yeah.
And like, I haven't been to like 90% of them now.
Same.
I'm not going to lie though. I do love Fifth and Broadway with 60 Vines. Have you been to 60 Vines?
Yes, I've been to 60. We had them in Dallas, so I'd been to Dallas.
60 Vines is one of my favorite restaurants. And I was literally just down there on Saturday. So I can't say that I don't go to Broadway, but when I'm there,
like Fifth and Broadway. Yeah.
It's usually for that.
Yeah.
Anytime I can take somebody to that restaurant, I will take them there because it's my favorite.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, absolutely. I just think that it's just, like I said, it's just not the same. I think there's still the culture of Nashville, like, and what it really is in the heart of like being, we're not the trend. Like we set the trend.
Yeah.
It's there. You just have to find it now. You have to go find the people and find the subculture, if that makes sense.
Yes. And then as far as music goes, I feel like there are so many people moving here to be a songwriter and to be a music artist and doing all the things. And so I feel like every couple of years, like I see all the bills of like all the writers rounds and all the things. And like, I don't know. I used to know everybody's name.
When you saw a flyer, yes. When you saw a flyer, you're like, I know every single person on that. Not now.
And now I'm like, who are these people? And they're all talented. And it's like very oversaturated. But at the same time, they're bringing something different and new to the table. So
so that's what I was going to ask you. Is that discouraging for you? Does it make you more competitive? How does that make you feel when it comes to your own, you know, your music career?
I mean, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't intimidating, for sure, especially for someone who is like semi-mediocre of a guitar player. And then like, I feel like some of these people are moving here or that go to Belmont. They have like all of the experience and that's what makes them amazing. It definitely, like, I'm not sure if my goals and dreams have changed over the last 10 years, but I love Nashville and I will never leave, really, no matter what happens, just because I love it here. But I also am blessed to have a whole other career that pays my bills. So
you're not dependent upon the music career.
No, I'm not dependent on the music. And I also, moving here and being this close to the industry, like to the music industry, you know, I grew up in a small town. So like the distance between who you hear on the radio and what you see on TV and what you see on CMT and all the things, like the distance was so big. And now I work in a salon where people are there and I'm like, this is insane to me. So I really think whether something happens for me in music or not, if I could go on the road with an artist, do their hair and makeup for them, sing background vocals, write songs with them, and then come home and be in the salon a day or two and play writers rounds, like that is the best mix of all the things that make me me. But I had no idea that was even a job before I moved here.
Like to go. So what you're saying is you didn't know that to like go on tour and be a makeup artist. You didn't know that existed.
No, I had no idea that was a thing. So
if you could do that.
Yeah, that would be so cool.
And you could be the opening act and do the makeup and hair.
It's not even that I would want to be the opening act. Like maybe I would, but at the same time, like if I could go on stage and sing background vocals and like be on the side, not necessarily be in front. Because also that's another thing. Like you were saying, like, you know, you could walk into any bar and see somebody there, but 9 times out of 10 now it's hard. People who are these huge artists, like they're not just, they're hardly people anymore. They're industries. Well, they're corporations.
Yeah. So once they get that big, correct. But look, if you look at Jelly Roll, right? So I mean, Jelly Roll was around Nashville for 20 years and no one cared for a long time.
Yeah.
That's why I respect him so much, because I'm like, when I moved here, we used to hang out with Jelly Roll and he was hanging out with Yellow Wolf and they were always at Red Door because that's my favorite.
Wait a second. What group of people, like where were you hanging out at?
Red Door.
Okay.
Alex King.
Yeah.
Yellow Wolf. There was a couple of them. I don't know. I just remember hanging out at Red Door. I remember
on the east side.
Or
Midtown.
Midtown.
Okay.
And then we were used to hang out at this other bar on Broadway. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It was on 2nd Avenue, I believe. I don't think it's there anymore.
Silverados.
I think so.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. So, it's interesting. So that's why I respect Jelly Rolls so much. I'm like, you guys know, like Jelly Rolls is so authentic, and to like, that man has put in so much work and never gave up. I mean, obviously you see now, and he's the big, like you said, he's exactly what you said, the corporation.
Right.
He's this big entity, but like, nobody cared for a long time here. And I'm talking about like, not the fans, like the music industry professionals. He doesn't have the look. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So what he's done is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, you don't know if you've met the next Jelly Roll that's in Nashville.
For sure.
And I think maybe we can make this podcast, and this is like your pitch. Like, you can do hair and makeup for somebody.
That'd be
an opening act. I mean, so you could have served dual purposes on the road. Yeah,
that would be amazing. And also, the longer you're here, the more people you meet. And I have talked to a bunch of people who say that that have been on the road, they would rather pay one person to do multiple jobs than pay multiple people to do all the same jobs. Yeah. So, I mean, and I've always been the type of person that kind of like wears a million different hats anyways. So I just think that would be a really cool way to do all the things that make me happy, because I don't think I could ever give up doing hair and makeup if something happened in music.
Really?
I don't think so. It makes me so happy. Like,
I love that you're talking about that, because as a single woman who's had to hustle and have several side hustles,
Absolutely.
And you have to do what you have to do to pay the bills, because I don't have a sugar daddy or an OnlyFans. I think that's amazing that you're talking about that, because I think more people need to talk about it, because you don't need to, especially if it makes you happy, but don't have your eggs all in one basket. Yeah.
So I feel like that's such a controversial topic, though, because I feel like the people who move here for music, especially when I first moved here, they were like, you can't have a backup plan. You can't have a backup plan. You just have to go all in and you have to give it everything. And for me,
really?
Yes, there and people who would say,
I'd say a side plan. It's a side plan. It's not a backup plan. It's we can even say a perpendicular plan.
For sure. Absolutely. But that was not the norm. It was like the people that were like hardcore and they were the real dreamers. They didn't have a backup plan, a perpendicular plan, whatever. And that's just like, I went to college. I have student loans. I am single. I've never been married. I don't have any kids. I have nobody else helping me out. I have to pay the bills. And so I was a server and a bartender for so many years. And I also always had this passion to go to hair school. So it was like either continue waiting tables and working the late hours and putting my body through hell, or go to hair school. Yep. Yeah. Or go to hair school and come out on top eventually with making great money in this town doing hair and makeup, which is what I love to do.
Yeah.
And then also still trying to make something happen in music, whether it's being the next Miranda Lambert or being her songwriter. You know, it's like there's so many different possibilities here. And so I don't think that I want to ever give up doing hair. Like getting the chance to make someone come in who is having a bad day, hear all about what's happening in their lives. I mean, now I've been a hairstylist for 5 years. So I have seen my clients through breakups, through marriages, through miscarriages, through babies, through all the things. And so
you really are, you're like the nail girls and the hair girls are like your therapist, honey.
Yes.
Cause you find out everything. You really find out all the tea.
All the tea.
All of it.
It's my favorite. So getting to play a role in other people's lives like that is one of my favorite things.
I love that. And I'm glad you're speaking on it because I just feel like, again, I understand don't have a backup plan, but like I said, it's a perpendicular because, you know, I've been fired 8 times. I've been out of jobs in radio, and sometimes it's taken people 6 months to a year to hire me. So I'm like, what do you think I'm fucking doing? I have to hustle. I have to go find another job. I've been a liquor rep. I used to be a bartender. I have done all the things.
I used to work in a liquor store and a gas station. I did that once too.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But and I bartended for years and years and years because the money was so good. Same thing. And that's where I learned how to talk to people. Now I talk into a microphone instead of people. Yeah. But I think it's great that you're talking about this because nobody talks about this.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Or they don't want to because they're embarrassed. Right?
No.
Like it's a taboo thing. I'm just saying like people are taboo because they have to have another job. It is not taboo. There's the majority of people are doing it until you get to a Jelly Roll level. Like imagine what Jelly Roll did for the 20 years until now he doesn't have to do all that.
Right. But I guarantee
for 20 years he had to do whatever. I mean, he talks about a lot where Bunny was like supporting him when he first met her.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like and I love that. That's my favorite thing about him because I'm like, you have to be very vulnerable as a man to admit that.
Well, I mean, look at his wife. She's freaking phenomenal.
She's amazing.
Like,
right.
You cannot even hide that. So good for him.
But I'm just saying like, you know, but he had to admit that like at that point he was like, I was doing shows for $200.
Right.
Like I was living in a van, like with my band, like, and that is the reality. And so, but this is why I like to pull the curtain back so you can, people really see, because it is not easy to follow your dream. And I just think that it's really awesome that you have been able to find something else and also makes you happy. And even though you are pursuing music, because that also makes you happy, that you're like, yeah, I just want to do both.
Yes.
I think that's awesome.
And thank you for saying that because throughout the years of being here, it's hard because there are people in music that are like, when I first started doing hair and music, I had 2 Instagrams. I had a hair Instagram and I had a music Instagram, and I will never forget this conversation, and it still burns me up inside. But I will obviously not name names, but there's somebody.
You could.
I'm not going to.
I nickname people. So the guys, when I talk about dating, like I give them nicknames, so I don't use their real names, but my friends know who I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's a guy who runs around in town. And I remember before he ever booked me, he was like, well, let me see your Instagram. And it was right when I merged my hair and my music Instagram together. And he was like, well, this is all hair. You're not even a musician. Like, where's your music on here? Like, this is all hair stuff. And it was right. And I had just made the decision to merge them together because I had music people that had no idea that I did hair and makeup. But hello, if I did hair and makeup for them, like that helps me. And then I had my clients in my chair asking when am I playing next? If I'm releasing anything, they want to know all the music stuff. So operating 2 Instagrams is really freaking hard.
Yeah,
so
it's a lot of time and effort. Yeah.
I was like, this is who I am as a person. I'm going to put it all together into one, whether people like it or not. And so this specific guy was like, you can't do that. And this guy's like, you know, he was like in his, 40s and,
and he probably an A&R or something.
Yeah. So I was just like, I was so offended. And then I was like, what the fuck do you know? Like, what the fuck do you know about being a woman in this town?
Yeah.
You don't.
You don't. You don't.
You
They have no idea. They think they know.
No. Oh.
They think they know. They have no idea.
They'll tell you everything that you should and shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, how much farther ahead of me are you?
Exactly. That and like what you should wear, what's the look. I mean, it's just...
Oh my God. Don't even get me started.
No, that's a separate podcast for another day.
For sure.
But so what are you doing? Let's talk about what you're doing right now.
Okay.
So what are you, I mean, obviously we know you're doing hair, but what are you doing right now in music?
Okay. So I actually spent some time last year recording. I had this really good idea to record a couple of songs and put it on an EP called The Healing Project.
Okay.
And so they're all songs that I wrote with people here in town that have had some form of healing for me from moving here. It's not finished yet. I have a couple done. But then also going into the studio for the first time and hiring this amazing producer that I love, like I didn't give him any direction. I was just like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's figure it out. And so we went into the studio, we recorded, I think it was 3 songs. We had a full band. It was like a day, but I spent a ton of money on it.
Of course.
It's wonderful, but at the same time, there are things that I'm questioning and second guessing myself on. And, you know, unfortunately it being, you know, the Healing Project, there's some songs coming from like a child of divorce and all the things.
Childhood trauma is a real thing.
Right.